When it comes to Amsterdam, one of the first things that pop into people's minds are famous cannabis coffee shops. The most famous one is the Bulldog Coffee Shop located in a former sex shop. It has existed since 1975 and is known to be the first legal coffee shop ever created. Nowadays, it is a chain of 5 coffee shops and a hotel. The Royal Palace of Amsterdam is located on Dam Square in the heart of the city. It was initially built as the city hall for Amsterdam's magistrates, and at the time of its construction in the 17th century, it was the largest secular building in Europe. Today, the Royal Palace is used for royal events such as the reception of the foreign heads of state during their visits into the Netherlands, the King's New Year's reception, and other official receptions. Each year, it serves as a venue for the presentation of various official and royal prizes. It is also open to the public most of the time. Visitors can admire the marble floors, magnificent paintings, delicate sculptures, huge chandeliers, and an annual exhibition. The Dutch National Monument is an obelisk standing an imposing 22 meters high in the center of Amsterdam's Dam Square, which commemorates those who died in World War II. Germany's occupation of the Netherlands cost over 205,000 lives, one of the highest casualties in Europe. Every year, on the 4th of May, in order to honor all those civilians and soldiers who have died since then, is held National Remembrance Day, when the royal family and local residents pay their respects to the fallen heroes. Beginhof is a 14th century enclosed courtyard. No houses of that era have survived, but the place, which is isolated from Amsterdam's traffic noise, still retains its sanctified atmosphere. It was originally built as a sanctuary for the Beginges, a Catholic sisterhood living like nuns but not taking any monastic vows. Single ladies still live in Beginhof's houses, so it is advised to respect their privacy and also be quiet. 2 churches are located here: the Catholic Houtenhuis and the English Reformed Church. The Humanities Faculty of the University of Amsterdam was established in 1997 in a beautiful neo-Gothic building, but in the past, this place used to serve a completely different purpose than education. The building was the headquarters of the Dutch East India Company, a company that dealt with trade and slavery mainly in Southeast Asia and Africa. It had become the first multinational company in the world and the world's first stock exchange. In the early 20th century, 6 shipping companies decided to build their prestigious shared head office in order to sell tickets for voyages to Dutch East Indies and Africa. It was finished in 1928 and was named the Shipping House. It was the first building built in an Amsterdam school, a style that is characterized by its expressive dynamism, colorful embellishments, and rich ornamentation. In 2003, the renovation of the building started, and since 2007, the place has been used as a luxurious 5-star hotel known as Grand Hotel Amra. The West India House was the headquarters of the Dutch West India Company. The company also dealt with trade and slavery operating in North America, the Caribbean, and Brazil. In this building in 1625, the governor of the Dutch West India Company ordered the construction of a fort on Manhattan Island, back then known as New Amsterdam. This place may not lie in Amsterdam. Instead, it is located in the village of Margraten. It is the only cemetery and memorial in the Netherlands dedicated to American soldiers that sacrificed their lives to liberate Europe from the Nazism in the Second World War. There are over 8,000 soldiers buried in this cemetery. Anne Frank House is a museum dedicated to a Jewish wartime diarist, Anne Frank, who had spent more than 2 years hiding in this house with her family and 4 other people. Being Jewish, they were trying to avoid a Nazi persecution, but unfortunately in the end, they were betrayed and sent to various concentration camps. Only Anne's father, Otto Frank, managed to survive the war. In 1960, the place was converted into a museum. It is the third most visited museum in the Netherlands. It preserves the hiding place where Anne and all the people were staying. Photos, film images, and quotes from Anne's diary can be seen here. Rembrandt House Museum is an art museum located in central Amsterdam where famous Dutch painter Rembrandt van Rijn lived and worked from 1639 to 1658. The house is full of art, furniture, and objects from that period. In this museum, the visitors can learn more about the unknown aspects of the painter's life and his artistic work. Pieterskerk is a late Gothic Dutch Protestant church in Leiden dedicated to the memory of Saint Peter. The building was built in 1390 and took nearly 180 years to complete. There used to be a church tower called Westtoren or West Tower, but it collapsed in 1512 and has remained towerless ever since. The church was deconsecrated in 1971 and after 1975 has been used to hold public events. Today, it is known as the Church of the Pilgrim Fathers, and many notable Leiden dignitaries are buried here, including Pastor John Robinson. The Leiden American Pilgrim Museum is a small museum dedicated to pilgrims in Leiden, Netherlands. It is housed in a building dating from 1365 to 1370, which is the oldest surviving building in Leiden. The museum, which was established in 1997 to showcase what lies behind the myth of the Pilgrim Fathers. The Leiden American Pilgrim Museum is one of the smallest museums in the Netherlands, which has a collection of antique furniture, furnishings, and articles of daily use that recreate the life of the Pilgrim settlers in Leiden. There are 2 rooms illustrating 2 specific time periods. One room shows what home at the time of the Pilgrim was like, while the other is an exceptionally preserved medieval interior. Not far from the Pieterskerk lies the entrance to the Jean Passenhoffje almshouse, where John Robinson's house used to stand before 1683. A memorial stone dedicated to him can be seen on the wall to the right of the entrance. However, John Robinson was not the only influential person to live here. Thomas Blossom, with his wife, the ancestors of American Presidents George Bush Sr. and Jr., and Barack Obama also lived here. William Brewster's Stick Alley is the place where William Brewster, the spiritual leader of the Plymouth colony, lived and operated the first Pilgrim Press Company. The house of William Brewster is located in an area of Leiden near Peterskirk. Even though it almost vanished in the later expansion, the blank end wall is still recognizable by the contrast of its bricks with those added later. William Brewster's house stood as the last on the right. The Vliet Bridge was the location where the Pilgrims left Leiden to start the journey to the New World. Not far from the bridge stands a small monument titled Pilgrim Fathers that was designed by Get van der Wouw. Under the sculpture, there are two small texts in both Dutch and English listing the family names of pilgrims that left for the New World, which is not restricted to the Mayflower pilgrims, but also all family names of pilgrims that left Leiden from 1620 to 1647. The city of Leiden is known to have connections to several American presidents. One of those presidents are John Adams and his son John Quincy Adams. They lived in a big cornered house on Langbrick Street. After the foundation of the United States of America, John Adams was sent to the Netherlands to work as an ambassador and took both of his sons, John and Charles, to study Latin and Greek at university. After they returned to their homeland, John Adams became the second President of the United States after George Washington, and his son John Quincy Adams would follow in his footsteps as a sixth president. Young Rembrandt Studio opened its doors to visitors in May of 2018. It is located at Langbrick Street in a classic cozy Dutch house. In this place, young Rembrandt actually learned how to draw and paint from his tutor Jacob van Swanenburg. There is a lot of Rembrandt memorabilia inside the studio, including portraits, posters, mugs, and free pamphlets and maps of Leiden and Rembrandt's history in Leiden. The best thing about this site is that it is completely free of charge for anyone to visit.